CEE Brown in your face.
Have you heard of Everything at Once?
Do you know about Everything at Once?
It's internationally known.
Aliens listen to it.
It's the best ever.
If there's something you're looking for in the 814, or feeling a little bored and think there ain't no more, check out Everything at Once and allow it to be your source. It's that raw podcast that's always showing support, highlighting the scene. No need to take I-90 to Peep or 79 to see how it be. Interviewing your locals with mindsets that are global. Innovators and creators on every single upload. So much going on in the EPA.
Incredible content.
Everything at Once will keep you up to date.
Amazing guests.
What you doing? Come through and hang with Tony and Dave.
Community driven.
Bringing everything at once from around the way. Everything at once from around the way. Hey.
Please listen. We love you. Everything at Once.
Everything at Once.
It's time to introduce this show.
The best show on the face of the planet.
Welcome, everybody. Thank you all for tuning in today. We want to thank our Patreon producers, Brian G., Josh W., Ian D., Nick G., and Sadie M.
Patreon, it's an awesome way to support the show and say thanks. You can become a Patreon supporter by clicking the link below and choosing to be an intern, assistant, or producer level supporter.
If being on the production team is too much pressure for you, you can also send any contributions using our Venmo at Everything at Once Studios. We now want to thank all the local businesses who supported this episode. These businesses get the Everything at Once stamp of approval and are critical members of the Everything at Once community. We couldn't do it without them. With winter approaching, are there any last-minute details that you want to change or renovate around your home?
I might, but you know who to call.
Yeah! Ghostbusters!
No, Tony. No, not Ghostbusters. Solid State Construction.
Oh, yeah. Solid State.
Yeah.
Duh. Solid State takes pride in all their home remodeling projects. Solid State specializes in bathroom remodeling, kitchen renovation, window and door installation, custom design work, and more, including painting, flooring, drywall, sidewalk, decks. Get your free quote today by calling Nick at 814-397-7854. Solid people, solid product, Solid State Construction.
You know, Tony, with all these renovations from Solid State, I think we might have kicked up some bad energy around here. Yeah, oh yeah. Luckily, we know just the people to go see.
I know it this time. It's Ghostbusters.
No, Tony! Our friends at Cauldron and Thorne!
Wow. I feel really dumb right now, and I can't believe I didn't think of Cauldron and Thorne, the world's largest witchcraft and metaphysical shop, with everything a person needs to channel the spirit world.
Practice some self-care.
Find enlightenment.
Curse your enemies.
Protect yourself from your enemies.
Bless your friends.
Cleanse your space from negative energies. You can check out all the magical wares available at for these different practices we all love and enjoy at Cauldron and Thorne, 2724 West 8th Street, or online at cauldronandthorne.com.
This week, we have an incredible guest for you.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Everything at Once. Today, we have another Erie podcaster. If you guys haven't heard of her, her name is Jenn, and she does the Ask Jenn Psych podcast, which is wonderful. It focuses a lot on psychology, especially like kids psychology.
Yep.
So, what's like your background that brings you to want to do a podcast about that?
Well, it's funny because I've been a school psychologist primarily here in the city since 2006. And that's kind of a long time to be sitting in any given job. And, you know, in public school these days, just the school psychologist role is a lot more of like special ed, test in place. And I don't get to use a whole lot of my skills.
Sure.
And before I did this, I was a music teacher, actually. My undergrad was in music. So I still kind of sing locally here and there. You
Oh,
know,
nice.
if it ever comes up, I might hit you up about your Treehouse series.
Oh, yeah? Are you ready to go up there?
I might. I definitely want to check it out.
I've been trying to learn how to play piano. I don't know if you guys can see it, but yeah, you can.
Oh,
There's
look at you.
there's the
Good.
piano, and I've been trying to learn it, and I've had that one for like a month now, and I need a bigger one.
Yeah, but that's a good starting point.
Yeah,
And
it's
got
fun. I've been
2
going.
octaves.
Yeah, I've been going through chords and trying to learn, but it is. I mean, it just takes time, and I feel like
sure.
I'm definitely limited by the number of keys that I have for a lot of
Yeah.
different songs.
But at least you have you were just saying about how if you put your time in and if you really want something, then you're going to be able to do it. So I see that, and I appreciate that. The music
Thank you.
teacher in me says, "Good job, Tony."
Yeah, it's interesting. And to bring it back around to like a psychological point, I feel like I can feel it carving new neural pathways in my brain, especially when I'm trying to do things with like different things with both hands. I can feel my brain like doing something. You know what I mean? I can I don't know what's going on up there, but it's like
working.
'Cause it is.
It doesn't like this, and it's trying to figure it out. But it's been a fun process, and I'm really glad to be able to do that and to have the opportunities to practice and learn an instrument, because
Yeah.
I did that a lot when I was a kid. Like I did a lot of things, but I never really got good at anything.
And that's okay.
Yeah.
I think that's one really big downfall of our society is people think, oh, well, if I try this and I'm not good at it right away, then I'm garbage. But that's not the case. I even saw something recently in the news, or I forget where I saw it, but how learning new things, even if you stink at it, you are nailed it. Like it
Yeah.
will prevent dementia later.
Hopefully, fingers crossed, because
I
that
know.
runs in my family. So
Okay, yeah, keep doing those things. And plus, like if you're playing piano, you're crossing the midline, and there's a lot of research about how that helps with your neural pathways. So
very interesting.
very interesting.
And the main reason that we brought you here today, though, is because of your background and your fellow podcaster. We just wanted to hang out. We've chatted on the
Yeah.
internet, and I've listened to your show and stuff like that
And
a couple
likewise.
times. And we wanted to kind of psychologically analyze our character for our upcoming short film, Karanormal.
I love it.
Yeah,
Love it.
we gave you a screener copy of the script, and Jen got to read it.
It is in here, and it will never come out. I
Yeah,
promise.
so don't even try. That's like a podcast privilege, I think.
It is. It is. I didn't finish telling you why I started the podcast.
Okay.
Or did I?
No, why?
no,
because
you
you wanted to bring things back into a psychological perspective because you felt like you weren't using those skills
Right.
as a counselor.
Right, right. And one of my favorite things to do at my job is to consult with parents. I am not a parent. I have hundreds of children. They all live at the school.
Where they should live.
But like when I was growing up, the teachers and weren't so nice to my mom whenever she had concerns to come through the school. And I just feel like it doesn't cost anything to be nice. It doesn't cost anything to be helpful. So why wouldn't I?
Right.
So I feel like it was just like an extra limb of what I have
Yeah.
to offer.
Absolutely.
So yes, thank you.
That's interesting. So it's got a little bit of a personal effect. I worked in mental health for a few years, and I was kind of a hard-nosed counselor with a lot of my clients.
Sometimes people need that.
Sometimes people need that, and to be able to find the balance between like being nice and being supportive and giving people that real authentic perspective is a tricky dance for sure.
It is.
I always said with my clients, you're gonna hate me at first, but I promise you're by the time you're ready to get out of here and move on, you're gonna have a different thought about me.
Right, right. Well, sometimes somebody has to tell it to you like it is.
Yeah, and people need that, and to get well, especially the clients that I was working with. A lot of them really needed to be shaken out of their denial and delusions and their lies about themselves or to themselves
Yeah.
or their false perspectives, however you want to look at it. But that's great. And I'm super excited. And hopefully today we'll get to practice some more of those psychological analyzation skills about our character, our main character, Kara. So we've already talked a little bit about how she is like an online celebrity.
Okay.
And I think that in and of itself lends itself to a lot of different problems psychologically,
Right.
from the ego through like reaching out towards like narcissism and the desire for attention. And I feel like that kind of personality really attaches itself to a lot of different criteria that I could see as a mental illness.
For sure, for sure. Well, and some of it's survival. I mean, I think during the pandemic, a lot of us looked at work and obtaining income in different ways,
Sure.
because we couldn't just go into the office like we did. And I think a lot of people got used to being at home. A lot of people started podcasts and different things over the pandemic.
I think the consumption went way up as well too, for podcasts and
sure.
for people that are streamers on YouTube or wherever it is they do their thing.
Sure. I mean, even I started like a side Instagram. I'll send it to you. It's kind of goofy. It's like my après ski, like after ski party.
Nice.
You know, not what teachers are supposed to put on the internet, but
Sure.
but I you know, I was like, I'll throw my hat in the ring. But it, you know, if you fail, it means you tried, but I didn't really try that hard.
Right.
But I think a lot of those people, they look at it as like an easy income. Like, well, I'm just going to be internet famous. I'm just going to go lay on
Sure.
a yacht and take a picture of myself in a bikini, and then all of a sudden I'm going to be a multimillionaire. And I think people quickly find out that that's really not the case. And they really have to, I mean, the amount of content you have to put out to really be relevant is
Astronomical.
yeah.
Tons and tons and tons of hours. And then I think past just the making of the content comes like the actual production of the content. So all of your editing, all of your social medias, your graphics design, all that stuff. It is a ton of work for a lot of these people that are internet famous, YouTube famous, whatever
Right,
famous.
right.
So that also like leads itself down another line of problems as far as your mental health goes, just like the amount of work that you're doing to reach that point of relevancy or to keep the audience captivated enough
Right.
for you to substantiate yourself with an income through this kind of stuff.
Exactly. And I think they quickly find out that it's not as easy as it looks. And then imagine, you know, you're trying to enjoy your vacation, but you have to make like a half an hour video, and people are looking at you and taking pictures and putting it on influencers in the wild.
Yeah.
So it's got to be a huge knock to the ego, especially when you went into it thinking that this is the easy way to
Right.
to sustain myself.
There's also like the conflicting side of that too, that once you do reach that level of fame or stardom or reputation, that level of couth, you're cool now, you know what I mean? You have all these people that love you. You probably also have like a fair amount of people that hate you, and you're kind of forced to go through those different types of things, you know what I mean? Well, you don't have to do that. I mean, you don't have to read the comments or
Right.
read all of the posts about you or whatever on Twitter or Instagram, but I think that a lot of people have a really hard time not engaging with that type of content.
I totally agree. Actually, there's a really good TED Talk that Monica Lewinsky did.
Interesting.
Yeah, and it's about, because when her scandal came out, it was before the internet. And it's kind of chilling
Yeah.
to think of like what would have happened to her emotionally it was bad enough that it was all over the news. And, you know, I mean, people can become suicidal
Oh, yeah.
whenever there's such negativity directed towards them. And people are so quick to just type up something nasty from behind the safety of their keyboard
Sure.
that they'd never say to somebody's face.
Well, there's also the new trend of young girls specifically on Instagram that are, you know, committing suicide or dealing with very severe body dysmorphia and depression
Absolutely.
and all of those kinds of things that kind of just ties into this. I mean, I think Mark Zuckerberg was just in the Supreme Court or in front of Congress or the Senate or whoever testifying about how he can try to make Instagram a safer place for these young girls that are really struggling with
better.
body issues. Oh my God, it's atrocious. It makes me really disappointed because I can see how social media can be something that's so beneficial and so good
For sure.
for so many people and such a great outlet and a means of communication, but it really seems like it's just a race to the bottom of the brain stem at this point. You know what I mean?
Well, there's no way to really stop it.
There is a way to stop
No,
it. It's really easy,
I disagree.
and I think that it's a very easy moral problem to solve, but it's not a problem that the capitalist system that we live in wants to solve is the problem.
As long as you have access, like a free market, and it's the internet is something that is a part of it, there will be different things that pop up that allow for people to do what they want. Right. So like Mark Zuckerberg could, or you'd have to get government involvement, which goes against the capitalist nature of society.
Well, I don't think it has to be a government involvement. I think it just has to be the people in charge making a good decision, like Mark Zuckerberg or Elon Musk or any of these other people that create a social media. Yeah, which also is just about as likely to happen. But I think it's pretty simple for any of those people. Maybe not Mark Zuckerberg particularly, because he is beholden to his shareholders, which is a thing for sure. But I think that moralistically, it would be a pretty simple decision to put to not make everything so clickbaity and not just spam. I think I just posted about this the other day that I had to scroll through 34 different posts on my Facebook feed before I finally got to one person that I know's post.
Yeah, that's been happening a lot.
That's all just because it wants to keep me looking through it. You know what I mean? So it's going to show me the things that have the most likes, that are the most relevant to my interests, the things that are, instead of like me actually seeing the people that I follow, I'm seeing all of this other stuff that I don't particularly care about, but it is in my niche of interests.
Yeah, but something will, not to go too far off this, but like something new will pop up.
Maybe.
No, it will. Think about like TikTok.
So.
Think about like TikTok.
Sure.
You know, like that was something that came out of nowhere in comparison with everything else. So like Zuckerberg could do what he wants, or like, you know, you could have Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, these things, whatever. If there is a market and it's allowable, something else will pop up to take its place or to fill that niche that there is. It's a horrible thing. It's awfully depressing. But as far as like the internet is just like this infinite space where new sites and new social media platforms can be placed for people that are not adults that probably shouldn't be using the platforms can use, then it's going to be perpetuated. I don't know. I just don't see it as something that can be solved by like Mark Zuckerberg tightening up Facebook and Instagram.
Well, and there's always going to be people who can get past that filter anyway.
Sure. I don't think it's about tightening up Facebook. I think it's about adjusting the algorithm so it doesn't give me so much shit. Like, yeah. Like, well, I greatly appreciate the people out there that are getting, like, thousands of likes and hundreds of shares on their stuff. But, like, if I don't follow you, you probably should not be in my feed. You know what I mean? Like, it's really that simple to me to fix the whole issue.
Yeah, like, I should be able to, I should see what I want to see.
Yeah.
You don't get to tell me what I want to see.
Exactly.
I was talking more about the depressed kids killing themselves type thing. But yeah, the likes and stuff, that's just like, we have our Meta website, and, you know, every time I make a social media post when we drop the podcast, the first thing that pops up, boost this post. So I close out of it, and like when we don't give our dollars to them, it's like, okay, well,
this isn't getting any traffic.
Yeah.
Well, I have boosted a couple of my podcasts.
I've definitely boosted
I don't know that it did anything though.
Yeah. I don't think we've ever boosted an episode, but we boosted our crowdfunder. We boosted a couple other things, a couple services and whatnot that we were offering, and it got a lot more traffic and a lot more eyeballs. But I mean, I guess the crowdfunder was probably pretty important because like that we really needed to get to all of our followers. You know what I mean? Rather than. And that was like specifically targeted towards our followers rather than just one that goes out to the universe or Erie County or however we organized it.
All right, I talked to a friend of mine who's a marketing director for a pretty big company, and he basically told me unless you have $1,000 to drop on a boost and you got like probably more than 10,000 followers, that like your boost isn't really going to do anything anyways. They're just like taking your money on top of not like, you know, putting you in the algorithm properly.
Yeah, I can see that. I think our boosted posts like helped a little bit. I mean, they just wouldn't have gotten the traffic that they did without it. But bringing this back around to our main character, Kara, these are all like issues that she is struggling with, especially prior to the movie taking place. You know what I mean?
Sure.
The internet stardom, the comments, the feeds, the level of production that she's creating in order to live, because Karanormal is like financially invested or like supported through her social media, through her Karanormal page and her videos that she creates.
So she's definitely like not the type of person that is motivated by hustling to make $1. Like when I wrote it, it's more of a person that is motivated by having as big of a center stage as possible.
Right. And I think that both of those things are really crucial and key elements to her character. You know what I mean? She wants the stardom, she wants the followers, she wants the attention. The money is great and she gets that, but it's not her primary purpose in going out to this. And even before she was an influencer, or I don't like calling her an influencer, but that's what she is, I guess. She's seems like the kind of person that was always attracted to that kind of that light. And I think she realizes that in seeking that that stardom or that level of fame, she's really invested a lot of her time and a lot of her efforts into this primary source of gratification, rather than a lot of other things that people find their satisfaction in,
like substance.
Yeah, like friendships and family and things like that.
So I feel like I've talked with you about this. I had to have. I mean, when I wrote the script and then we went through it. But so to give you a better perspective, if you know who this person is.
Dave wrote this story, by the way. This is Dave's brainchild.
I yelped. I won't tell anybody why.
Yelped. And it wasn't a review on the internet
No.
that I know.
Yeah.
I literally was like,
I kind of based the character, at least like the mold that she started with, off of Anna Delvey.
okay.
You know, like
the
like she comes from
artist.
Yeah, she comes from like a small town family. This person's not, our character isn't foreign, but she comes from like this German family, and she
Working
class, and she plays herself off as like a Russian heiress, and
I saw
just
a little of her.
it's
show about her.
it's super interesting, but like at the end of the day, I thought the most interesting thing about it is like when that documentary came out, so many people, instead of being like, wow, this girl conned, you know, multiple institutions and she's sick in the head or whatever, so many people that I saw like comments and reviews were just like, yes, she's breaking through and living the life. And so I kind of wrote like thought of this character as like a Anna Delvey type character.
Yeah, almost like a Peter Pan, or is that not Peter Pan? Robin Hood.
Yeah.
Steal from the rich and
Give
give to the poor. Or yourself.
Yeah.
Or yourself.
Well, to
Or
yourself.
yeah.
Yourself in Anna Delvey's case, for sure.
But she was poor. And
She
then
was poor. She gave to herself. And
Good for her.
if she's like, I don't know, Robin Hood's a very interesting idea behind that. And I appreciate that idea a lot. But this character is really not as concerned with the money and more concerned with the clout.
Interesting.
Yeah, like the class status.
Yeah.
Like how she was like, she definitely enjoyed, I'm guessing, like eating at
fame.
fancy places,
Yeah.
but like,
Getting the
like
good table and
right, like the Anna Delvey, like being like in the elite social circles of Manhattan, you know, like rubbing elbows with the most important people that she possibly could.
Yeah, definitely. And when the story starts, Kara is like canceled. So she loses all of her internet clout and internet fame, and is moving back home, not home, but like to her hometown to try and find herself and readjust. So this would lead me to believe that she's like very depressed, and despite reaching this certain level of fame, morally conflicted with how she did it, maybe a little bit. And struggling to identify, like, is this worth it? Is this something I want to continue doing? Or is there another way for me to get back to a place where I'm not depressed or sad or feeling morally conflicted about what I'm doing for money?
yeah. That makes sense. Well, and first of all, the internet's not that old. Like, okay, we're all the same age. I know that.
Right.
But when I started college, like I had to go to the computer lab, and there was like these big fat IBM computers with a black screen and white like courier print. And then slowly but surely, as I was in college, like the internet came out and all these things. So like, and that was like right around the Bill Clinton era where Monica Lewinsky had all this happen, and she didn't get lambasted on social media because there was none.
Right.
And so a lot of these like psychiatric problems that happen and the self-esteem problems that happen with social media, luckily I avoided it as a child, you know, but I could still succumb to it, like feeling bad that I didn't get enough likes, or, you know, feeling bad because somebody said something nasty to me. I'm not famous enough for people to say nasty things to me, so that's good.
Really? Yeah. We've had limited. There have been a couple times, but it's been pretty limited.
It's been pretty limited. Although nowadays, with like that platform, like social media, you can get nasty with. You could be nasty to any person
all
in the
sorts of
comment
random
section.
strangers for no reason at all. Especially when they're showing me all sorts of different random things that I'm not even connected with or affiliated with.
Well,
Yeah,
that's
like,
where
no thanks.
like the troll culture. You know, you could just go into a comment section and not even care about it, but just be like, "You're an idiot."
And you know what?
And then just sign off.
Yeah.
Maybe this is like a personal thing for me. Actually, this is definitely a personal thing for me. But I kind of low key love being that troll sometimes.
I love that for you. I have a friend who he has like a fake account, and he goes on to like some of these hardcore political sites, and he'll type some incendiary comment and just close his computer and go have a beer or whatever.
Right. Let it go. Let it rip.
Like almost like dropping a bomb, you know, maybe not a physical bomb, but like just crop dusting some room and walking away and never going back.
I guess it could be fun with like actually like politically driven posts, but like politics, I could live with never seeing them again. You could watch like a video of like a cat getting a bath, and it's like the cutest thing, and someone in there is like, can't afford that in Biden's America, you know, like,
Right, yeah,
you know,
of
like
course.
you won't have any cats in 4 years if you vote Biden again. And I'm like,
my
oh my
goodness.
fucking god, like
Yeah. See, I think that there's like there's some trolls out there that are very eloquent when they troll and are very good at it and very thought-provoking and things like that, which I appreciate and respect and like doing myself. But there's others that are just like not good. You know what I mean? Like you said, like the cat, like, oh, can't afford that, not in this economy.
Yeah,
Well, you know what I mean?
Like you put your pants on today and chose violence, like why?
Yeah.
Well, and really the troll culture, like if all you're putting out into the universe is negativity, then that's what's, there's no positivity inside of you.
Right.
And it's like you just perpetuate anything that you're putting out there. So like back to what you're saying about the TikToks and the young girls killing themselves. I mean, I've seen it at school. These kids, the mean girl stuff starts way earlier than it used to.
Sure.
And they'll make a whole TikTok about how you shouldn't be friends with this girl. And I'm like, what is wrong with you? Why would you do that to somebody?
I feel like that comes with like such a high level of self-importance too.
Yeah, like completely narcissistic. I mean, when we were talking a little bit on the side about the gaslighting, like being a narcissist or even just having no empathy for another human being, like that's, and I know we're trying to instill that in school. There was a long period of time where it was like test scores and all this stuff, but now it's like, let's bring it back. Let's bring back some manners. Let's bring back, because we're with them for 6 hours a day. We need to set an example about like how to act right.
Right.
And, you know, part of that is like, don't be in the dark and your tighty whities just typing mean things to people. That's not going to help you.
No.
Do you think that, I think about this a lot, do you think that there should be more value put on like centralized gatekeeping? And by what I mean by that is like, you know, before the internet, let's just go back to the television age, like you had gatekeepers in production as centralized, like traditional media that decided what news was, decided what, you know, could be relevant. Or like, you know, like people nowadays, you got phones that, you know, you pay for monthly or whatever, but like you got these apps and you're just taking pictures of everything because it's free basically. Before you'd have to buy a camera and pay to get the film developed. There was like a gatekeeping process,
and there
that
wasn't
cost you
really an
money.
easy way to distribute either, like there is now.
Right. Yeah. I mean, you could print it out and like put it in your photo album for yourself, but like I don't know how. I can't remember. You just have your friends over to look at your photo album. I don't know.
Yeah.
Basically.
Right, yeah.
Nice paper photo album, just looking through.
Well, like after a vacation or something, it'd be like, check out these photos, and that was like a cool process. But like, so, I think about these things because, I couldn't imagine being a kid that would get bullied nowadays. Like, I got a little bit of it when I was younger, but like, you got to go home, and just have time to yourself, and you do not have that anymore. Like, you are just constantly being attacked if you're not someone who's in the favor of the other kids, or at least popular kids.
Right. And it can be really sneaky. I mean, we've found, because they're like, as far as the gatekeeping goes at school, we have, I think it's called NetRef, and they can like, your teacher can see if you're on YouTube, and she from her desk can shut it
off. Yeah.
I'll tell you privately some of the hilarious things people have looked up, but the teacher can squash it. But then at home, and parents, some of us didn't grow up with that stuff, so the kids are just naturally more technologically advanced, and a kid might hide that they're being bullied for a long time before it gets to the point where they hurt themselves or kill themselves. So I think it starts at home. And parents need to be really aware, just have open communication to avoid that from happening.
Definitely. And it's a big ask for a parent to be monitoring their kids all the time.
Right.
Because I feel like the only way to monitor is to not monitor, and that's to shut it off. And I feel like that has its own benefits and values, and is very important in a lot of situations for it to be time limited or gate kept a little bit. But there's a lot of time where like your kid eventually is going to need to use the internet. You know what I mean? I can't just be like, no internet. You can't do that. You have to read or do whatever. I mean, I could do that, but my child would probably hate me, and that would just stir up like other problems.
Right.
And eventually, when they're ready to enter society, like they're going to need some of these skills that they learn on social media to adapt into like modern life.
Or not even like just like watching like instructional TikTok videos and things like that or it's awesome. It's a great place to learn.
Sure. Oh yeah.
Like we talked about YouTube University, like all this stuff sitting in front of us right now. It's him, not me, but like I'm talking for him right now. But bow down. But like he didn't have any like academic background. He learned all of it. So like there's definitely the positives to it, but you gotta guide the kids in that direction. Like I feel like a lot of times it's just an easy way to get a child. I don't have any kids, but I can imagine it's an easy way to distract your kids so you get a little bit of time to yourself.
Right. And I do think I'd have to look up the exact number, but I'm pretty sure the American Psychological Association is against screen time for anybody under age 2. But
under age 2, that I mean,
their brain is so plastic at that time. They're just like growing and growing. But you know what? You can't judge them either. Like if somebody is absolutely losing their mind in the middle of a packed plane, I'm not calling children's services if you hand the kid the phone. Like you gotta use common sense sometimes too.
Sure.
And a little bit's not gonna hurt anybody.
Right. And that is like one of the easier ways that I feel can be monitored as a parent.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because they're still pretty dependent on you. But once kids start having their own phones and their own iPads and their own computers, things get a lot more difficult to keep track of.
And there's so many ways that people can get in. Like I shudder anytime a kid tells me that they talk to somebody during a video game, and I'm like, do you know, who is this person?
Right.
Oh, he's my friend. And I'm picturing some 50-year-old weirdo in like, some other state, like, what's your address kind of a thing.
Yeah.
So it very well could be another child. Who knows? But like there's ways like that, or there's mean comments, or there's kids making videos about you that you don't even get sent and you find out about because people are laughing at you in school. So it's like, and I can imagine what a heartbreak that would be as a parent to have your kid go through that.
Sure. And in this case, our protagonist is going through all of that on a massive super scale, like more than like not that school bullying and stuff like that isn't big and impactful, but we're talking like hundreds of thousands of followers and like a substantial following that supports her, all attacking and berating and belittling and basically canceling her.
Right.
But it's interesting because, like with many canceling situations, she did it to herself.
Right.
Right.
So,
go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was just gonna say she did it to herself, but like she gets like so wrapped up in the like her digital fans that there's a disconnect with some of the real people in her life too. So she's really stuck between a rock and a hard place, and it's all her fault.
Yeah.
Right.
So not only is she dealing with the abandonment from her her formerly loving fans and that are supporting her financially, to the neglectful nature of being an internet sensation or a content creator and their family that they have been neglecting.
Right. And you know, whether she did it on purpose or not, I mean, I don't think there should be absolutes there either. Like there's always the talking about throwing the art out with the artist. Like Bill Cosby, for instance, that guy.
Yeah.
Like, get rid of his art. I get sick to my stomach to even think about how I just loved the Cosby Show when I was a kid. And meanwhile, he was drugging cast members even, and young girls, and raping them. So get rid of that guy. But like in Kara's case, I don't know. I didn't write her. Did she do it on purpose? Whether she did it on purpose or not.
She did it on she definitely did it on purpose for her own gain. But it's not something that's on the level of like physically harming another person. That's why it goes back to like the Anna Delvey thing. Like she was spending like rich people's money basically. So
which I just can't sympathize with.
Yeah. But no, she definitely does it to herself.
And it's I think also that a big part of it is what is entertainment and what is real life. Are you an entertainer? Are you making these for entertainment purposes? Or are you trying to be authentic and genuine and truthful and portray this as your real life?
Right.
Which if I had to guess, I would say she was very much trying to portray this as like a real phenomenon or real things that she is experiencing as a paranormal investigator. But they're also, I mean, if you ask anybody in wrestling if it's real, you know, they're going to say, any pro wrestlers, it's like, what's it called? Kayfabe. You gotta keep the show rolling even when it's fake or it's it's not real, but you gotta pretend that it's real because that's part of the act. That's part of the story.
Theater.
It's theater. And I think that also gives Kara to me a little bit more of acceptance or forgiveness or understanding in this type of situation where everybody's really mad that she's been, faking these investigations.
She's I don't, let me try to think something that's based off like the very beginning of the movie, so that whatever. It's the way that she brings about things. Like it's not like she does things like a goofy like Sasquatch hunter or something like that. She like digs her claws into like the more real like spiritual like tarot type like that kind of stuff that people like really invest themselves in on a real level instead of an entertainment level.
Sure.
So it's not, wrestling's a good kind of a little bit, but like, well, I guess it would be the people that think that wrestling, like just think that the character that they see on a wrestling show like is that character. That's a very good example, because like if you watch a movie and like like Tom Hanks is in it, you're like, well, that's just a character Tom Hanks is playing. It's a Civil War era thing, whatever,
sure.
Like
it's a character.
He's not a like Leonardo DiCaprio, like Django Unchained or something, like you're like, well, he's playing like a slave owner, but he's not a slave owner. But with something like wrestling, it's
see
like
those
they,
guys
like
out
it,
there.
for some reason it like
They portray it as real.
John
portray
Cena
it
is
as
still
real.
John Cena outside of the wrestling ring if you see him at the mall or wherever it is.
Yeah, because they have to keep up their character.
character.
I don't think they do it as much anymore, but I've watched some very interesting stuff from back when like they were trying to sell the illusion more, another pre-internet thing. But that's what they'd have to do. They'd have to act like their character when they're out in public too.
Right. And those lines I feel like are easy to get blurred. You know what I mean? Especially when you're portraying a character and acting like a character. And I don't think that Kara necessarily is trying to be a character.
Right.
She's trying to be a legitimate person, a legitimate investigator, or a legitimate influencer, or a legitimate psychic, however we want to classify her. And she's kind of lending herself or giving herself a little bit of extra boost. You know, it's like a baseball player taking steroids, like secretly cheating to give yourself that level of fame, but like you don't really tell anybody about it because it's not authentic or real or genuine.
Right. Well, and even like a photo filter is kind of the same thing.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I could filter out the smile lines on my face, but you know that, and I would look nice in that photo.
Sure.
And I'd be happy with it. But whatever.
And there's tons and tons of people that do.
Yeah.
Like it's just so prevalent. You know what I mean? And I feel like, I don't know. I feel personally conflicted about it. And I don't really use filters or anything like that on our stuff. I do some fancy editing every now and then with my photography. But I try to still keep it as real and as genuine and as authentic as I can. And sometimes it's just like, why everybody that sees you, at least if it's somebody you know, they know what you look like. They know that you have these wrinkles and what your face actually looks like. And to completely wash it out with one of these filters is concerning for me.
Yeah. But then at the same time, like, you can't blame somebody for wanting to put their best foot forward.
Sure. I mean, everybody wants to look their best. You look good, you feel good, you take a nice picture, it looks nice, people like it, people comment on it, whatever. And I can't blame them, but I feel like there has to be some sort of I feel like I would feel some sort of internal conflict about something like that.
Yeah.
I think it's like a cheap. Well, one, obviously it's an ego thing, but I think it's like everybody has the things about themselves. Well, not everybody, but a lot of people have the things about themselves that they wish were slightly different.
Sure.
So like a filter's a way to like do it real cheap on the internet because it's a lot cheaper than like plastic surgery.
Right.
You know,
right. And you can't die putting a filter on your face.
Right.
Exactly.
Hopefully not.
Not
Hopefully
yet.
not. Not yet.
The science has not been determined yet for that, but no, I'm just kidding.
But with Kara, I do feel like there's a certain level of ambivalence towards her. You know what I mean? I feel like that's one of the goals we want with our audience when we make this movie, is for our audience to understand where she's coming from in this situation. You know what I mean? Like, it wasn't out of malintent or maliciousness or anything like that she got into this situation. It was really just a blurred line that she may have crossed.
Right. Like, it snowballed to the point where she kind of went along with it.
She didn't have a choice, you know what I mean?
I would slightly disagree with that. I think it's definitely a whole lot of malintent. Like, we can talk about more when the camera's off, so we don't talk about the plot that much, but I feel like there is a whole lot of malintent on her part. Just basically like what you were talking about at the very beginning about like people wanting to like get rich quick or get like followers quick type deal. So like cutting obvious corners to just be famous with as little work put in as possible.
Sure.
So there's definitely malintent, like.
Yeah. But I think that kind of malintent is easy to deny to the self, like personally. You know what I mean? You'd say like, oh, it's a white lie, or oh, I'm doing this for
victimless crime.
Exactly. Yeah. And kind of say that you're doing it to benefit yourself and you're not hurting anybody or whatever. And that's kind of my goal as a director, is to keep this all kind of a a questioning thing. And I think that's the nature of any good like suspense thriller is you kind of don't know, do I trust this person? Do I not trust this person? Do I believe them? Do they have my sympathy? Do I hate them? You know, and kind of build up that personal conflict about the character and how people feel about them. And I think that being able to do that well is going to lend itself to making the story much more impactful and powerful for our audience.
I think it comes down to more, not so much what she did on the internet as much as what happens when you, for better or worse, she was trying to better herself, but what happens when you commit to something you know is wrong for such a long time or a lie for such a long time that when it unravels and you need to make the next step with your life, it's a mix of like wanting to return to your genuine self and then like not really fully knowing who your genuine self is at that point.
Right.
Right. And if you've already alienated the people who care about you and the people you trust, who do you trust?
Right.
Because you can't trust people on the internet. I mean, we all know that.
Of course.
You know, so people might seem very nice. Obviously, I came over here and you guys seem very nice.
Right. Yeah. We met on the internet. It wasn't
Maybe
that bad.
this is the movie.
Right.
Dun, dun, dun. Yeah, but, you know, if you alienate, you got the red flag is, am I alienating everybody who cares about me? Mm-hmm. You know, if you're doing that, then you might want to take a step back and say, well, their voice is valuable, and why am I ignoring them?
Yeah, but I think it also comes back to why is the alienation occurring? Is it because she's invested into this Karanormal YouTube fame, whatever, or is it because she's just doesn't care about her family?
Right, and that's a good question. And with the family, you know, sometimes if you do better yourself, they can feel like you're alienating them.
Sure.
So it's kind of like a little delicate dance because did she really think that she was bettering herself, and therefore and then why do they hate me for it? You know, it kind of goes with like. I talked about this recently, like the holidays. Like, you know, there's a lot of big expectation from families on individuals for the holidays. And if you don't live up to those expectations, then shame on you.
Sure.
So with her, they might not have agreed with, like, you know, I don't want to give anything away either. So, but you did mention that she alienated them.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But, you know, was it on purpose, or did she feel like, well, I'm just making money for myself?
Yeah. And there's also, I think, the family's perception of her new internet fame. Like, oh, there's famous Kara, you know what I mean? She's out there doing business and staying busy, and, you know, she doesn't really have time for us anymore, but we still love her. We still care about her.
Sure.
We want the best for her.
It definitely has the, like the trope, just a little bit, if anything, of like the old, like, girl leaves the small town to go to the big city type deal, you know, because like those small town like dynamics of a family, I feel like, are definitely different than if you're living in a big city. Like there's more of a concentration on like, this is your family, this is who you are, this is where you need to be, instead of like going and exploring the world and, you know, making the most of yourself as an individual unit.
And I think there's a level of jealousy that comes with that as well, you know what I mean? Her sister's in this. And I feel like there's a certain level of, oh, you know, she left the city and got famous, and I'm still here. I'm still, you know, I haven't reached this level of success or this level of acumen in my life, but my sister's a fucking YouTube celebrity, you know what I mean? So I think that there's a lot of different dynamics that kind of come into play into how the characters treat each other.
Yeah.
When she does make her return back to her hometown with her family. Away from this Karanormal character, this Karanormal persona, and it's just normal Kara again.
Yeah. Well, and it can be offensive to a family if you decide to go and, you know, move away or get this big fancy job, and like everybody's like, oh, well, you have so much money now, like, oh, you probably think this, you know, and it's their own self-esteem. Sure. That's they're reacting to. So I mean, family dynamics, we could talk for 5 hours about that, but you know, I felt sympathetic to Kara.
Yeah. I agree, and I think that I think that people probably should feel a little sympathetic towards Kara, and for a number of reasons. Dave doesn't think so. Dave wants Kara to be.
I did teeter back and forth.
Yeah, and that's kind of the thing too. Like it's a very mixed bag.
Right.
You know what I mean? There's a lot of different dynamics going on in a lot of different parts.
And I'm a big empath. And actually, if you're a student at my school and you're naughty, you're probably one of my favorites because there's always a backstory there. And it's like, this poor little person is just trying to communicate. And, you know, Kara was trying to communicate, and she found herself a way to do it, but her family might not have agreed with it. And that's a tough place to be in. It's
a lot more easy to empathize with. And, like, I definitely thought about this, too, with this movie. It's a lot more easy to empathize with a kid like that than an adult.
That is true.
Even if it was built up from, like, things that happened when they were kids,
times,
you know?
For sure.
Right.
It's a lot harder to,
because we should know better.
We should know better.
Yes. And I just said that about children, but yes, if you were acting the same way as an adult, I would not be a fan.
Right.
You would not your favorite person.
Yeah. I would not join your fan club, no. No.
Yeah, it's an interesting story, and I think that a lot of people are going to enjoy it. And there's a lot of different. I think that there's a lot of space for people to form their own opinions and have their own thoughts about it as well, which I think is also critical of like any good art, is for people to interpret it and see it in different ways and in different lights. And I hope that people see that about Kara, and that's what we would really like.
I can't wait to see it.
I can't wait to see it either. It's going to be really exciting. We're moving towards rehearsals, so I'm sure that this character is going to get fleshed out a little bit more. We also, our lead actress who's playing Kara, was going to be here tonight to help us give her perspective on how she sees his character and what she wants his character to be. But she's having. We're putting prayers out there for Henry tonight. Her cat, he's not doing great. So
Aww.
She's making sure that he stays happy and healthy. And but I also am very interested to see how she wants to play the character as well, because I think that there's a level of leeway that where you have to trust your actors in this type of position. You know what I mean? And let them do their thing to portray this character how they perceive them.
I think it depends on I agree. I think it depends on the type of director
that you are,
because you definitely see directors, you know, read stories about directors that are like, this is exactly how it's done, this is how we're doing it, and they still get actors that come because they think they're a genius. You know, then you get other directors that are like, just go out there and improvise.
I want your perspective.
Exactly.
Yeah, and that definitely plays a part too, for sure. Like, we don't want Kara being somebody that she's not, you know what I mean? But I think that with an ambivalent character like her, that leaves a lot of room for interpretation.
And does she even know who she is?
Right.
Yeah.
Maybe we do want her playing someone that she's not.
Maybe we do. Right. And I think that this whole thing is just it's going to be a learning process, and I'm really glad that we have such a talented group of actors and actresses involved in this project to help guide us and make sure that it all comes together the way that the destiny wants it to come together.
This is the first foray for both of us into filmmaking.
This is so fun. I'm excited to just listen to you guys talk about it even.
Maybe afterwards we can have you back and talk about our psychological state after we make this movie.
I'm so tight-lipped right now. I don't want to blow any secrets.
Yeah.
The actual
We
plot.
are trying to be too, because I feel like you can't have a psychological thriller where everybody knows what's going to happen or how it works.
You wouldn't be thrilled.
Exactly. It wouldn't be suspenseful.
Right. And we don't lack the patience, or we lack the patience to sit on this episode for like 4.5 months to put it out. We do not want to do that.
Right.
So
it's taking everything in me not to tell all of you guys right now what happens and how the story goes, because like I'm just like super excited.
She gets eaten by a shark.
I hated that part.
That was the worst. Her whole family too.
It's actually just
it's a remake of Sharknado.
I was gonna say Jaws, but yeah, Sharknado works.
That's so funny because when Jaws was out when I was a kid, I was too scared to watch it. I just watched it for the first time this past summer.
Oh man,
did you like it?
Was it scary?
I did. I loved it. I could see how little Jenny would have been very scared.
I could see that being a scarier movie. Only a scary movie. Well, not only a scary movie, but a scarier movie if you live on the coast. Because if you're living here, you're like, I would never have to worry about a shark.
Yeah.
I just won't go to the ocean.
But as a kid, I don't know that I wrapped my head around the fact, like, you could, like, you can know, sometimes you know things cognitively, but your body has, like, this visceral reaction. And, like, Lake Erie, I mean, if I was 5, you couldn't have convinced me that there wasn't Jaws in there if I watched that movie.
Exactly.
That would be especially terrifying, too, because it's the villain, let's say the antagonist, is something that you can't see. It's underwater, you know.
Could be anywhere.
Could be anywhere, which is always a terrifying thing. Yeah, great movie, but yeah, Sharknado.
Sharknado, yeah, sorry.
Also a classic.
We blew it. The plot is actually just a remake of Sharknado.
The review, short-term review. This is Sharknado meets Jaws meets Cocaine Bear.
Oh wow.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on.
Bravo. Oscar Gold right there. We're going all the way with this one.
I love it.
Meets Airbud.
Wow.
Oh, hey.
Okay.
See, there's something to appeal for everyone.
Yeah, it's family friendly.
I love it.
Well, Jen, this has been super fun.
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt.
Thanks for coming out and lending
appreciate you
your
having me.
perspective. And check out Jen's podcast, Ask Jen Psych.
Thank you.
And it's incredible. More will be revealed. Everybody that hasn't got tickets yet, go get them.
Yeah, I got a commemorative ticket along with some.
Yes.
You are awesome.
Yeah,
Thank you so
we
much.
have like ticket stubs because nobody gives ticket stubs anymore, but we are because I like ticket stubs.
I do too. I like to use it as a bookmark.
I have like a big jar upstairs on my desk with all of my old ticket stubs, and I haven't been able to add anything to it for like years because everything's just
digital now.
Digital,
I'll
yeah.
tell you what, if I could fight my own younger self, it would be that I didn't save all my ticket stubs.
Oh man,
They
if I
used to be
saved
cool.
all of them, it would just be.
If you do get something printed, if you do get something now, it's just like a printed out piece of paper. It's lame.
It's
The
like-
old tickets used to be cool. They put an
know.
effort into them
Right.
and everything.
Yeah, were designed. We're on like nice cardstock and stuff.
So I was excited that there was like a commemorative ticket
Yes.
on top of what you could donate.
Keeping things original, keeping things unique. There's gonna be
it.
sweet shirts, and we're gonna have a date for you guys real soon. I don't know. Maybe by the time this episode comes out, we will have a date and a location. We have a soft confirmation, but we still need to sign some paperwork and dot some I's and cross some T's, and we'll have that out for you as soon as possible. We love and appreciate you guys. Thanks to all our sponsors, all the people that listen and tune in, all the cast that's working on Karanormal. You guys are the best. You inspire me and make us hopeful that this is going to be an incredible movie that you will all love and enjoy. Everybody, have a good night. Peace out.
Peace.